afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, Super Typhoon Unveiled maintains its strength with signal number 5 raised in the northeastern portion of mainland Cagayan. Another tropical storm, Mai, may enter the Philippine area of responsibility tonight. An assistant counsel for the International Criminal Court insists on ICC's jurisdiction over former President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war cases. And Filipino craftsmanship takes center stage with the unveiling of the first ever Filipino-crafted crown in this year's Miss Universe pageant. Thanks for joining us. An assistant to counsel of the International Criminal Court insists the ICC retains its jurisdiction over drug war cases allegedly committed during the Duterte administration, and it may eventually lead to a trial. Hannah T is reporting to us live from the Department of Justice. Hannah, what is the basis for this?
The spotlight is once again on International Criminal Court's investigation into alleged crimes against humanity committed during former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. Despite the country's withdrawal from the ICC in 2019, Attorney Cristina Conti explains that the court retains jurisdiction over cases under consideration prior to the withdrawal, including this investigation. Conti notes an important clause within Article 127 of the Rome Statute, the ICC's founding document. She says the withdrawal only takes full effect a year after submission and does not apply to cases that were already under ICC consideration. In BNC's At the Forefront, Conti says the ICC's focus is investigating possible crimes against humanity committed during Duterte's presidency, alleged cases of murder and inhumane acts linked to Duterte's anti-drug campaign aiming to determine accountability. According to Conti, should there be sufficient grounds, this case could eventually progress to trial within the next few years.
It just so happened that the preliminary examination was opened before we withdrew from the ICC. So that was February 2018. We withdrew March 2018, 1 month after. 1 year after naging effective. And now they're saying that, oh, maybe you should have done the investigation prior. But for us, the preliminary examination was already a matter under the consideration of the court. And therefore, we should continue with that.
The government has earlier shown its willingness to cooperate if the ICC requests assistance through Interpol. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin recently clarified that while former President Duterte is not worried by the investigation, the Philippine government would be obliged to consider any international arrest warrant. This is the first time such a cooperative stance has been suggested. This is after former President Rodrigo Duterte attended a congressional hearing by the House Quad Committee, which is investigating alleged extrajudicial killings during his administration's war on drugs. During the hearing, Duterte expressed his willingness to cooperate with the ICC and urged them to expedite the investigation. Mai?
Hannah, what is the DOJ's position on this, especially after what Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said, that they may be obliged to cooperate if an international arrest warrant is issued?
Yes, actually, Department of Justice spokesperson Miko Clavano reiterated that despite the country's withdrawal from the Rome Statute, the country remains a member of Interpol. Therefore, if the ICC makes a request through Interpol, the Philippine government may have to give such a request due course. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you. Hannah T reporting to us live from the DOJ. A new technology that will improve airport security is soon coming to the country. Sujin Kim has that story.
A touchless airport experience might be well underway for Philippine airports. This comes at the visit of the first Smart Cities mission of the U.S. Department of Commerce and International Trade, shortly after the U.S. trade mission led by Trade Secretary Gina Raimondo last March.
The Philippines becomes the only country in the world that in 2024 will have 2 high-level trade missions. I think that that is a testament to the strength and the potential for even further growth of our relationship.
US-based tech firm UltraPass signed a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Transportation to pilot test the biometric software that will simplify and expedite airport security with cutting-edge technology. Passengers will be able to pass through immigration by simply showing their face.
This memorandum of agreement with UltraPass for passenger biometrics processing marks a significant step in our push for digitalization in the aviation sector. This technical upgrade in passenger processing at airports will hopefully usher in more innovations that we can implement at airports nationwide.
We truly are partners in prosperity. U.S. companies are among the Philippines' largest investors. U.S. investment has generated millions of well-paying jobs for Filipinos. U.S. businesses, the leaders of these businesses are bullish about even more trade and investment opportunities in the Philippines.
The program will roll out in 2 phases. Phase 1, with pilot testing targeted for completion in the first half of next year, will be for Filipino passengers using their national IDs, while Phase 2 is designed to extend to foreign travelers.
UltraPass is proud to bring this technology here to the Philippines, supporting DOTR in building an airport experience that meets and even exceeds global standards. UltraPass's technology integrates seamlessly with the Philippine national ID system.
Iloilo Airport will serve as the testing site for this initiative.
We can elevate Philippine aviation to global standards. Major airports abroad have long adopted this technology. This should spur us to discover and adapt other aviation enhancements and innovations. This is part of the department's goal to transform the transport sector by tapping latest technology.
Following the pilot, the DOTR, led by Secretary Jaime Bautista, will assess the results to determine further engagement with UltraPass. Sujin Kim, BNC.
Super Typhoon Ophel has maintained its strength as it nears the Cagayan Valley region. As of 11 this morning, Ophel was located 135 kilometers northeast of Etchague, Isabela, moving west-northwest with maximum sustained winds of 185 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 230 kph. Ophel is forecast to move northwest over the Philippine Sea before making landfall along the eastern coast of Cagayan this afternoon. Signal number 5 is up in the northeastern portion of mainland Cagayan, particularly in Santa Ana and Gonzaga. Signal number 4 is raised in the Babuyan Islands, the northern and eastern portions of mainland Cagayan, and northeastern Isabela. Signal number 3 is hoisted in Batanes, the rest of Cagayan, the northern, central, and southeastern portions of Isabela, the northern portion of Apayao, and the northern portion of Ilocos Norte. Still in Luzon, signal number 2 prevails in the western and southern portions of Isabela, the northeastern portion of Quirino, the rest of Apayao, Kalinga, down to Aurora. While signal number 1 is up over the rest of Isabela, the rest of Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, the rest of Mountain Province, Ifugao, and Abra down to La Union. For Tropical Storm Manny, Pag-asa says it may still enter the Philippine area of responsibility tonight. U.S. President Joe Biden meets President-elect Donald Trump in the White House days since the hotly contested elections. The White House says the longtime political rivals had very cordial and substantive talks in the Oval Office on Wednesday, both promising a smooth transition of power in January.
It was, again, substantive, but I do want to take a little bit of a step back here because it's really important to note, and you're going to hear me continuing to say this over and over again, the importance of having a smooth transition, and importance of having an orderly transition. The president respects the will of the American people and wants to make sure that occurs. That is what he believes the American people deserve.
The traditional courtesy of welcoming the president-elect into the Oval Office is one that Trump did not extend when Biden won in 2020. Trump made false claims of widespread fraud after losing then to Biden. Meanwhile, President Biden will meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit in Lima, Peru. The White House says Biden and Xi will likely hold talks on a range of global issues like Ukraine, Taiwan, and the South China Sea, and the friction between Washington and Beijing. The two countries have tried to keep tensions at bay, but China will now have to prepare for a potentially more confrontational period with the U.S. under Donald Trump.
With respect to his meeting with President Xi, I don't expect him to pass messages. Obviously, President Trump, when he comes into office, will have his opportunity to engage directly with President Xi. But I will observe that transitions are uniquely consequential moments in geopolitics. They're a time when competitors and adversaries can see possibly opportunity because you have this change in government here. And so part of what President Biden will communicate is that we need to maintain stability, clarity, predictability through this transition between the United States and China. And he will also really reinforce the point that in order for us to manage this competition responsibly going forward, we have to sustain over the long term the channels of communication at every level, particularly the military-to-military level.
Heading to Peru now as protests greet world leaders arriving for the APEC summit in Lima. Protests erupted across the country as Peruvians denounce what they call the looting of their natural resources. They also want their government to step down. Among those who have already arrived for the November 14 to 17 meeting are Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Vietnam's President Long Quang. Up next, fintech giant GCash says it is open to all investigations on the recent unauthorized transactions on their app. Newsfeed at noon. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Newsfeed at noon. Still the big story today, former President Rodrigo Duterte losing his cool as he faced lawmakers and critics in the House Quadcom investigation on extrajudicial killings under his administration. Duterte attempted to throw his microphone at former Senator Antonio Trillanes, who exposed his bank accounts with alleged deposits of billions of pesos. Zandro Achona has the details.
Both former President Rodrigo Duterte and his daughter Vice President Sara Duterte attended yesterday's hearing at the House Quadcom. The elder Duterte, as a resource person, was seated beside former Senator Laila de Lima and the Vice President in the audience. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes was also present, alleging the war on drugs of the former president fake. Trillanes also presented a list of alleged Duterte joint bank accounts he shares with his children amounting to 2.4 billion pesos, which he claims came from drug money.
Dokumentong ito po yung naging basis ko nung plunder case na final ko kay Duterte noong 2016 at ito po ay inimbestigahan ng Ombudsman.
The former president even suggested signing a waiver.
I'm willing to execute an affidavit or kayo na lang to summon the banks pursuant to my waiver. Kung may totoo lang maski isa, I will hang myself in front of you. You can summon, I will sign a waiver, all banks. Pati yung World Bank ng Amerika, kung may isang totoo lang nakiting, I will resign and I will ask my daughter to resign and everybody in the family. That is my guarantee. And
Duterte also assured the Quadcom he will sign a waiver tomorrow. But Trillanes said the former president is bluffing and suggested to the committee to sign the waiver now.
Will the former president be okay that if we draft the waiver now, that it be signed today instead of tomorrow? Will you be fine with that, Mr. President?
Anong kapalit, sir?
Hindi.
Sampalin ko siya sa publiko.
Hindi, wala naman.
Ngayon na.
Wala pong galunan.
I'll give you, sasampalin ko sa
Chairman,
publiko.
session suspended.
Session suspended.
The former president apologized after the incident. Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte received a summon from the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability while attending the Quadcom hearing. The summon, signed by the chairperson, Representative Joel Chua, is requesting VP Sara's attendance on November 20 at 10 a.m. The summon was handed to her by the committee secretary. 4 OVP officials were cited in contempt for failing to attend the hearing last Monday as the vice president continues to snub the hearing, appearing only once. Zandro Ochona, BNC.
The economic czar of President Bongbong Marcos, Secretary Frederick Go, acknowledges that the tax incentives under the newly signed Create More law are still not as attractive as those offered by other Southeast Asian countries. However, he stresses that investors still have other options to consider. The Create More law reduces the corporate income tax rate from 25% to 20%, a move intended to make the Philippines a more competitive investment hub in the region.
Pwede po sila mag-avail ng 5% gross income earned na tinatawag. Ito po ay ang paborito po nila. Ito po yung binibigay ng Clark Development Corporation. Ito po yung binibigay ng PEZA, ng Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Ito po yung paborito nila. Kaya po yung mga malalaking semiconductor companies, for example, like Texas Instruments, Analog Devices, yung gustong-gusto nila maging PEZA registered. Iba-iba po yung incentives na binibigay ng mga kapitbahay po natin. Ang isa po kasing pinakamalaking binibigay ng mga kapitbahay po natin ay yung energy subsidy. Kumbaga, mura ang kuryente po.
Correct.
Tayo kasi po, we are the second most expensive country in Asia when it comes to power. So, kailangan po natin bumawi sa ibang bagay.
Secretary Go also highlights the importance of the law on the agenda of the Board of Investments, emphasizing its potential to drive economic growth and attract new investors.
Ang problema kasi po natin nung pinasa yung Create Law dati, maraming foreign direct investors ay nadismaya at hindi nagtodo invest sa Pilipinas. Kaya po may konting lag tayo. But we have to do the right thing. We have to lay this groundwork to promote the Philippines again as an attractive investment destination dito sa Asia. Kasi po kung titingnan mo in the last sabihin na natin 5 years, karamihan ng investment ay pumunta na sa ating mga kapitbahay sa Southeast Asia.
Opo.
Yes. So we really want to bring them back here, to bring back the jobs to the Philippines.
The Create More law, while still behind other countries in terms of tax incentives, represents a strategic move to make the Philippines more attractive for business. By lowering corporate taxes and simplifying incentive structures, it's expected to encourage more local and foreign investors to enter the market. Fintech giant GCash stresses the recent unauthorized transactions on their app were neither an incident of breach nor phishing. GCash Vice President for Corporate Communications, Gilda Makilan, tells BNC's Agenda what happened was a product issue and an isolated case. Makilan says it involved their Send Ang Pao service.
Nakita po namin na meron pong sudden spike po doon sa tinatawag namin transaction ng Send Ampaw. So ang Send Ampaw po, ito ay isang produkto ng GCash na pwede kang magbigay na aginaldo na several yung transaction. No? Ang proseso nito, pag nag-send ampaw ka, yung ampaw ay papasok sa temporary wallet. Nakita namin na yung temporary wallet ay dumadami ang laman. Ito ay hindi regular. Ito ay unusual. Kaya sinwitch off po namin ito kaagad. Tamang-tama, November 9, tumawag po ang ating mga customer at nag-complain bakit daw sila namigay ng aginaldo, hindi pa naman po Pasko. So natugma namin na yung aming na-observe at ito pong sumbong na ating mga customer ay meron pong kinalaman. So kami ay nag-imbestiga.
She says they welcome all investigations into the incident. As to whether it could happen again, here's what she had to say.
Maraming challenges ang e-wallet, no? So handa kami, no? At kaya namin makipagsabayan. We continue to invest po sa technology at sa tao. Nakikita nyo naman 24/7, weekend, nagtrabaho po tayo dyan. Nakikipag-ugnayan din po kami dito po sa ating mga regulators at mga partners kasi kailangan po tulong-tulong tayo to address issue po ng fraud at saka cybercrime.
On to some earnings reports, starting with the country's largest conglomerate, which is on a solid growth trajectory. As of end September, SM Investments Corporation, the holding firm of the C family, saw its total assets expand by 4% to 1.7 trillion pesos. The company reported a 9% increase in net income for the period, driven by strong performance across its core businesses. Banking was the largest contributor, accounting for 50%, followed by property, retail, and portfolio investments. SM Investment's strong performance highlights the resilience of the Philippine business sector. Growth in banking, property, and retail shows that diversified conglomerates are well-paced to drive economic expansion. Philippine Airlines, led by Lucio Tan, marks its 11th straight profitable quarter. The Q3 profit, however, took a significant hit, dropping 87% to $13 million from the $98 million reported last year. The flag carrier's 9-month earnings was down 61% at $135 million. Rising costs impacted PAL's operations, largely attributed to higher expenses in aircraft ownership, maintenance, and airport handling fees. Coming up, Filipino craftsmanship takes center stage with the unveiling of the first ever Filipino-crafted crown in this year's Miss Universe pageant. Stay tuned. You're back on Newsfeed at noon. Filipino craftsmanship takes center stage at Miss Universe 2024. For the first time in the pageant's history, the winner will be crowned with a masterpiece designed and crafted by Filipino artisans. International luxury brand Jewelmer unveiled the crown, describing it as a symbol of man in harmony with nature. The brand, known worldwide for its South Sea pearls, highlights the efforts of pearl farmers and Filipino artisans in bringing the design to life. Founded in 1979 by French pearl farmer Jacques Brainilec and Filipino entrepreneur Manuel Cojuangco, Jewelmer has long been synonymous with elegance and sustainability. Now their craftsmanship will shine on the global stage, bringing both glamour and pride to the Philippines. Miss Universe 2024 will be held this Sunday in Mexico City, Mexico. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Keep it here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. Good afternoon.